In today's video, we're going to go about deleting the airbag system in this 2005 Toyota Sequoia that we are building into the ultimate Overland camping rig for a family of 4 plus a dog. And yeah, the reason we're doing that is because these systems are known to be kind of a weak point. And I want to swap it out for a more kind of robust and foolproof spring system like the SR5 versions have. Most of the limited versions have this airbag system and it's adjust on the fly and all that, which is cool, you know, good to go, but I don't want it to fail on me and I just want it to be a non-issue, so I'm replacing it with that. Now, fun fact, I recorded a whole bunch of footage about rebooting some axles with high angle boots to make them more robust and doing the full front end refresh and suspension lift on this vehicle, but I unfortunately have misplaced those SD cards, or maybe I threw them away in the garbage. So whether I find that video footage in the future and put out a video on it, or I just overlay some footage at the end of this video on the front suspension lift is to be determined. If I end up finding that footage, I might roll it out as a dedicated video down the line, but for now, there's nothing I can really do but push forward. And future Drew will tell you right now if I ended up finding those SD cards to add it to this video. I did not, and it's a significant bummer, but let's move forward and talk about what's really going into this airbag delete. Old Man Emu extended length rear shocks. These are for my rear airbag delete. These are some used coilover bump stop boot kind of a thing that goes up there and replaces the rear airbag. Old Man Emu progressive springs for the rear of the vehicle. Man, these things are freaking beefy. All right, we're under the vehicle now. I have it jacked up on jack stands. I've removed both back rear tires, and I also removed my spare tire right here for 2 reasons. 1, I'm gonna attempt to fit a larger spare under here, and 2, just give me a whole bunch more room to access what I need to under here. So up here is some sort of control module for the airbags themselves. Undoing this is gonna help us to deflate those airbags. So, now, I want to say it looks like the compressor for this thing is up over here. And I'm going to remove that and give it a weight because I'm trying to stay as close to GVW as I can, so every ounce is going to count. I will end up removing all of these as well. All right, supposedly you're gonna get a few different lights telling you that there's a problem wrong with the airbag system. 1, you have to disconnect something behind the CD player head unit here, and 2, you have to take out a fuse or a relay up front. I'm gonna turn it on and see what I get. So it just says maintenance required, and then man, which I'm assuming is maintenance as well. Now it's pretty straightforward on how you get into this. You remove these 2 screws and just gently pry out and around, pulling it away. So it's that guy right there. This, it says Toyota Air Ride, so that control module needs to be taken out. All right, disconnected. All right, then I'm gonna go under here and remove any of the fuses that are related to this. Big relay up there, 10 amp fuse. It's that relay and this 10 amp fuse. We're gonna need to get the axle to drop down a little bit to accommodate the new springs. So we're gonna wanna disassemble this e-brake from the track bar right here. Return that so I don't lose it. And we're gonna have to loosen this lower shock mount so that we can swap out the shock. Wow, that was not tight at all. Thought that was gonna be harder. Now, being that I'm no pro at suspension geometry, I am going to have my jack kind of just lightly underneath the pumpkin of the axle so that if and when this suspension starts to drop out, it doesn't come down unexpectedly in one direction or faster than I'm wanting it to. Just as easy. And you're also going to want / need to undo your lower control arm end links Honestly, if your sway bar end links are rusted, just cut them off with a grinder or something and replace them. It's just not worth the struggle to go through this. Well, it looks like I'm probably replacing my sway bar end links. Every job will turn into a nightmare. So these guys, there's a little clip up there that releases the top of the airbag. And it should allow you to pull it down and out. Yep. Just needed to pry up on this lip here, I believe. There she goes. Probably makes more sense to go out this way. Come on. So getting to the top of the strut hat bolt is going to be a pain in the because everything's a pain in the. Yeah, you just have to get yourself up there with some sort of swivel head wrench. I got one of these guys. And I'm going to try to get it. Supposedly it's a 17 millimeter. All right, this has been a struggle. I forgot about this with the Tundra, but one of my least favorite jobs about anything with Toyota is taking the top of the strut bolt off of the shocks in the back. They are always rusted. Man, I don't swear on my channel, but... So I am breaking out the Sawzall. I'm gonna go find power and hope I can get in there at this angle with the Sawzall. But my God, what a nightmare. All right, real talk here. Working on your cars sucks. Like, learning to do the work is definitely at the core of what this channel is all about, but it's gonna suck. There are so many times where things go awry, and all of them have to do with bolts and nuts. It's important you do it, but my God, it's gonna suck at points. And sometimes you have to just call in the frickin' cavalry and cut stuff off. It's funny, you see a lot of videos where people cut a lot of stuff out, and it makes sense, because do you really need to show people you're riding the struggle bus? But they'll be like, oh, you might have some trouble here with the top hat assembly bolt being stuck, so, you know, you'll just want to grip it with some vice grips around the strut assembly, and you can get it out that way. Bullshit. I'm sure full-time mechanics can easily be like, all right, this bolt is stuck, I got to do this, this, and this, and I'll get it off, and it might be a little bit of a pain, but we'll get there, you know, in a reasonable amount of time. I worked on getting those off for like 3 hours. And it's important and not really an option to just give up. You got to just persevere and push through it and figure things out. And I don't know, that's how I've learned everything working on vehicles, is just getting stuck into it. I don't even know if it's fulfilling. At this stage, it's not fulfilling. When it's done, it'll be fulfilling. I'm flustered, man. That was a lot. We've got our struts out. We've pretty much got our suspension disassembled. There is a load sensing proportioning valve, or whatever the heck you want to call it. Now, I put extended brake lines on these, so I wasn't worried about things ripping out once it flexed down, once the axle dropped. But if you don't have extended brake lines, might be worried about that. So you have to probably remove, I want to say it's this guy. You want to loosen these so that it doesn't damage your brake lines when the axle droops down. And your axle basically is held in place by the track bars, top and bottom. So that's what's causing So that's what's keeping it from crashing down on top of my face, which is cool. For this modification, you can either buy the upper bump stop inserts that go in the top side of the spring, or you can find them at a junkyard. I actually sourced them on a Facebook page from a guy who does a decent amount of used Sequoia parts and all that. This basically seats right up in where the airbag was. The base does the same thing. You just gotta find a good way to get it in there. So I'm gonna use my jack to get in here. You have got to be kidding me. Thank you, Jesus. Now I realized I didn't seat the spring the way I needed to into the bucket on the axle, so I just loosened it up, turned it into place until it dropped into the channel, and basically just let it all come back down. I didn't get a very good camera angle on the upper strut assembly, so let's let Josh with First Gen Off-Road explain how it all goes together.
We have two bushings, top and a bottom, they look identical. Two washers, a top and a bottom, they look identical. And then we have this thing that's kind of like a washer, but this, I'll show you how to do this. And then of course we also have a little nut there. It's a washer concave side up. Then you put a bushing on. Then of course you're gonna put this into the housing up in the truck. Then once it's in place, you put this, and this is kind of like a stabilizing unit. This kind of positions the shock kind of where it needs to be. And then it's a bushing, and then it's concave side down, and it's a lock nut.
Basically the same time you cut this, I'm gonna slide that over, guide it up into the hole. And there we have the finished product of the First Gen Sequoia Airbag Delete. Definitely excited to have the progressive springs in there from Old Man Emu, as well as the Old Man Emu extended shocks. And being able to source those upper used bump stops definitely saved me some cash. But really, we got to dive into the front suspension next. Now up in the front, I have the JBA up control arms with the serviceable ball joints. And for the coilovers, I went with the Bilstein 6112s that I bought from First Gen Off-Road. Definitely reach out to Josh there if you need help kind of analyzing what you need to get out of your suspension setup in pretty much all First Gens. He's an invaluable source over there. Bummer I lost all the footage of installing this front end suspension, but if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. There's a lot of information online as far as front end suspension install. Got quite a rake in the front. Obviously the suspension has to settle down a little bit, and this is going to be filled with some more gear and obviously weighted down by quite a few hundred pounds. Tomorrow I'm taking it to get an alignment, and I'm also going to be throwing some new tires on it. Some new old tires, some different tires, and then something for the Tundra is coming too.